Hi, and welcome back. Today we will do a quick workshop breaking down the crow pose. So if your fear is being mainly around lifting the feet or feeling so high up from the floor, you're not alone. Those are very normal feelings, especially when you start diving into some new poses, and some movements are very new for our body and our mind. And simply remember, the mind doesn't like to learn new things, likes you to keep you comfortable and to keep you safe. And by doing that, it brings up so many fears around new poses or new experiences in your life, because this can relate to anything in life, not only to yoga. And the big work here is actually to work with the mind, teaching it that it's okay, that we are safe. And bit by bit, we will start evolving and advancing in each pose with progression. The important thing is to learn the basics, the foundations, the proper way, so that we can evolve properly in the pose. Because sometimes, especially in class, teachers don't have time to break down these poses and go to each student who is trying to learn how to get into those crow or arm balances, inversions, and they just simply look around and probably they pick another student who is doing it. But it could happen that sometimes that student is adjusting the pose to his own needs, to his own body, and we don't know it. So we just imitating and copying the poses that and the things they are doing, not knowing that maybe that way, that shape, that form cannot be applied to ourselves. And so these workshops in general can be very useful to understand the dynamics and the mechanics of those poses, to enter them properly and to start evolving and maybe transitioning from them. There is so much we never stop in our practice. And so let's start. If you feel like you're still very new to the pose, you might need a pillow. And if you have, I'm going to show you ways to get into the pose even using props. Okay, so the pillow is simply for the face, to fight this fear of falling forward and somehow breaking our nose or injuring ourselves. So keeping always the pillow in front of you. And then the blocks could be used for the feet. So when we struggle to lift, we could actually place the feet onto the blocks, and I'll show you how as well. So before we start with the blocks though, I'm going to show you the proper alignment of the pose. So when we get into the pose, always remembering fingertips facing forward, like for any pose, fingertips are facing forward. Okay, so not 45 degrees forward. And then engaging the arms, bringing the elbows in, so we're engaging the side of the body. Okay, very important. For every pose we will encounter and we will break down is always the drishti. So there is three principles: the drishti, the breath, and the bandhas. They always have a position and a specific engagement in every pose. Every single pose has a drishti, which is the point of focus, the gaze, where we gaze in. And most of the time it's forward. Why? Because we go where we gaze, okay? Which means that if I gaze down here, most luckily, if I lose balance, I'm gonna land straight into my face, okay? When I gaze forward, I'm directing the energy forward, okay? Second point is the breath. So going back to the very reason why we hold poses. And it's simply because we try to let the breath run through the nadis, which are energy channels inside our body. That's the whole meaning of yoga. We breathe while we hold in these poses, we let the breath run through the nadis, and this has many effects on us. It could energize the body, it could relax, it could calm the system down. So you understand how counterproductive could be to simply hold the breath on those poses. Having said that, when a pose is really challenging, especially for the brain more than for the body, it's normal to start racing with the breath. We pant, we hold the breath, and that's completely normal because we having other thing to think of. The beauty of this practice is that when we actually start aligning the body the right way, then the real work is simply to go back to the breath. So at the beginning will be fine to have a very uncoordinated breath. Then the real work you have to do once you start mastering the pose is to simply think about the breath and going back to it and slowing it down. And the last thing is the bandhas. Bandhas are locks of the body that we engage every time that we hold a pose. And so I always say to my students, really engage your body when you are on these poses. Activate the body, every single muscle. So it's impossible to hold a pose when we're relaxed. The relaxation of the mind and the body will happen eventually. Like if you ask me to be on a pincha, I can close down the eyes, I can relax, I can fluctuate maybe, but I know I'm gonna hold the pose because I found that deep inner state of peace. But before getting there, it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of engagement because we need to teach the body to stay there no matter what. Okay? So going back to placements, hands placement is always under the shoulders. So hands shoulder width, fingers facing forward, gaze facing forward, which I don't mean by straining the neck and gazing in front of me. I'm just gazing down here, okay? Then we lift the hips, and then if we just starting into the pose, we need to bend the elbows, not out, elbows in and bend forward, okay? If we're just starting, please bring the knees close to the elbows, okay? We don't try to catch momentum. When we catch momentum, we just fall into these poses. We need to get into those gradually, okay? So we start with the knees close to the elbows, and maybe we just see how it feels to lift one foot at a time. One foot at a time, okay? If this is already enough or we're struggling to lift, you can also place the blocks. And then remembering that you always have your pillow, hands behind the pillow, because if we fall forward, okay? And this is already giving height to your hips. So see already my knees where they go higher up. If you don't feel comfortable, start lower, okay? And then you lift one foot, you lift the other foot. I'm always gazing forward, okay? If you're already practicing the pose, then you can start by bringing the hips up a little bit more and bringing the knees gradually higher up all the way to the armpits, okay? So always gazing forward, fingers facing forward, elbows in, really wrap active arms, okay? And then lean forward, lengthen the spine. Maybe you lift one knee, one foot, and bring it down. Maybe you lift the other foot and bring it down. Maybe you lift one foot and then you start lifting the other and then stay here. Try to not be floppy. This is what I mean, okay? Activate, point the toes, heels to glutes, gaze forward. And if this is normal, maybe you start strengthening the arms. Okay? There's so many variations. Start low and then you start gradually going up. The more the confidence is building, because you're lifting away from the floor and that is going to become scarier. Okay, pillow is there, pillow is there. I'm losing it. Oh, I'm falling on my pillow. Okay, so no big deal, it's there for a reason. So there are other things you can play with, and it could be variations, it could be transitions. Okay, how you will transition to your headstand. So I always, the way I teach it to my students is get close to the floor first. What I mean by it, this is because mainly I've been having lots of issues with my neck, so I'm really cautious because we only have one. What I mean by it is when you're up on your crow, okay, let's say you're here and then you want to get into your headstand, I'm not going to bring the head down from here. It's quite high. I might just start sliding the knees out, down to get closer to the floor, okay? At this point, I just have to bring the crown of the head down and see how gentle that was, okay? This requires core engagement, lifting the hips, and then maybe knees to the chest and knees and legs out, up, sorry. And then what do? We either pike and bring it to your chaturanga, or if you're already there, you can also reverse it. So you're going down, bring the legs up, and then reverse. So bring the knees back to where they were. Active core, use the breath, use your hands to lift, okay? If this is normal, if this is something you're already working with and you already master it and you want to learn more, could be also one-legged crow. One-legged crow to switch legs, one-legged crow to headstand. See how many variations. Side crow leg variations. It's never ending. This is why the practice is so beautiful. I'm just gonna show you the legged crow. Sorry, one-legged crow. And I always teach it in a way that, remember that here, the flash, it's really wobbly, okay? So if you're starting to learn one-legged crow, I would advise you to find, I call it a shelf. So if you're straightening the arm, you can feel a gap, a hole between the two bones in your elbow. And that's where exactly your knee has to be placed. Because if your knee is here and you're new to the pose, it's really hard to balance. But this is a bone to bone, it won't move, okay? So how do? We set ourselves up the same way. So hands shoulder width, fingers facing forward, I am gazing forward. I lift the hips. Now, if I want to find that shelf on my knee, on my elbow, I need to bend it first, okay? So I start bending the elbows. I bring one leg up, and this is already engaged, okay? And my knee is going to land on that shelf. See, it's not really moving, whatever I do. And then I start leaning forward. I could also bring the right knee to the chest, and then I start straightening the leg up. Okay, I am gazing forward, so whatever happens, okay, and bring it down. Of course, you're gonna lean a little bit more to one side, and then as the practice goes, you're going to start trying to get more to the center. How we do the switch. So it's all, it's really hard to say, it's all about the breath. So leaning forward, leg up, okay, weight onto my fingertips as well. And then I start bringing the knee close to the chest, to the other elbow. I am using my breath, and then straightening the leg up. It's all about really the gaze and the breath. Move with the breath. Give your body the time to settle. I'm feeling stable. Let's move on. Don't rush it. Okay? Another one could be your three-legged crow to headstand. So, and back as well. So, leg up. And then crown of the head down. Engage the core, lift. And then you can come back. Let's see if it works. It worked. Okay. Your side crow, I'm gonna show you the placement of the hands again, because there is a problem in this pose that many people do. And again, it's based on the gaze, right? So what I said, most of the poses have gaze forward for a reason, because we tend to collapse, okay? So when you go into your side crow, you're gonna have the knees out to and feet out to one side. So my legs are short. So when I put the elbow down to the leg, this other elbow is not gonna have anything to sit on. But many people eventually get the other arm, the other side of the glute on the other elbow. That shouldn't be the right way to practice, but if you're starting with it, it's also good. Okay? So the lower you bring the elbow to the opposite thigh, the easier it is to lift. Okay? And then what am I doing? Again, hands shoulder width, fingers facing forward. And what people do is tend to go up and turn the gaze. But when I'm turning the gaze, the left shoulder starts collapsing, okay? When I gaze forward, my shoulders get even, okay? So that's the biggest thing in your side crow. And give it a go. Save the video and start practicing, and really try to engage with the breath and get your foundations the proper way. And let me know how it goes. I hope you start evolving in your practice very soon. Thank you for watching. Jai.